Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. The season is almost over. It's Super Bowl week, Super Bowl weekend coming up, and then the NFL will enter the next draft cycle and hopefully be able to cover that. That's coming up after this week, and also we get spring football again, but today it's all about the Super Bowl and concluding our year of predictions once again. Smokey, how are you doing?
I am good, and I do not have a fan base that I am better than this week because there is no one to pick on that lost this past week.
That is true.
So
that is true.
I'm good. How are you, Alex?
I'm still better than Cowboys fans, even like almost a month after disastrous playoff loss. I'm still better than them, and I think I will be better than them for a long time to come. Probably years and decades the way they're set up at the moment, and I'm not complaining about that. That's a very, very good thing. I'm glad we're at that spot. So yes, better than Cowboys fans for sure. We have one more game. A single game left. Is the Super Bowl obviously coming up from Las Vegas on Sunday. And before we get into it, I'll have to ask you one more time to recap our prediction standings. I know it's the same as it was last week, but because we always have this prediction competition, we need to know what we're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually went back and looked at the 2019 predictions that we had because it was the Chiefs and the 49ers also in that Super Bowl. And I have a feeling we're going to pick the same teams this week. But as a matter of fact, going into the Super Bowl of 2019, Chiefs versus 49ers, I was up by 1 point. It was actually 179 to 178. And right now, going into this Super Bowl, Chiefs versus 49ers, you are up by 1 point. 171 to 170. So I have the chance to tie. I just don't have the chance to win. But a tie is better than a loss. So
That's true. That's true. That means I'm going to do my prediction first when we get there later. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. Also, one thing I wanted to talk about before we get into Super Bowl, actually, the results are in from the People's Choice for all the NFL awards, the NFL Honors Awards. Now, this podcast is being recorded on Wednesday, which means that at the point of recording, we do not yet know the winners of all these awards of the NFL Honors, but going to go through some of these fan votes anyway, just to kind of see what people think. So starting with MVP, we have Lamar Jackson at 47% ahead of Christian McCaffrey in second. So those are actually number 1 and 2. I wonder if McCaffrey ends up being the second highest vote getter. It would surprise me a little bit, but then again, he's been talked about a lot for MVP. But yeah, the people do seem to prefer Jackson.
I think he has to come in second right now. And that's actually when we did our predictions. I picked Christian McCaffrey as who I would pick, but I also said Lamar is probably going to be the winner. So that makes absolute sense to me. I know that Christian McCaffrey is probably going to win Offensive Player of the Year, and you can tell us that in just a second. But I absolutely agree with that. But you're right. Christian McCaffrey is probably not going to win because he has another award to win.
Absolutely. He has the Offensive Player of the Year award to win, and people do very much agree with that as well. Tyreek Hill, I think, is the other sort of candidate we consider, and since quarterbacks seem to be sort of excluded from the award nowadays, this is sort of just really quarterbacks and the rest of the league, or offense specifically with the MVP and Offensive Player, McCaffrey seems predestined to win the Offensive Player of the Year. On the defensive side, we have the majority of the viewers also agreeing with my consensus, or ours. I don't even remember exactly if you picked him too, but TJ Watt, 47% of the votes, to Myles Garrett's 33. To me, that is way too little. Like, just given what I pointed out last video, I'm shocked that TJ Watt is not like 80% plus, but he is 47%. The narrative apparently really is pushing Myles Garrett for some reason. People really like him to win. No statistical justification for it whatsoever. But TJ Watt's still the fan favorite with about half the votes. So like I said, that kind of aligns with what we said too.
Yeah, I actually picked Myles Garrett to win. My pick was actually Roquan Smith, which I know is not going to happen. No. But I assumed, since it's been Browns heavy, that Myles Garrett was going to win this award. But Probably TJ Watt. That makes sense. You know, that was your pick, and he probably will win.
Yeah, TJ is the only reasonable choice, right? Myles Garrett, yeah, if you if you want to go with full Browns propaganda, you pick Myles Garrett and Stefanski as well, but TJ Watt is definitely the deserving winner here. Going to the rookies, we kind of seeing what we expected here. The offense, not very close at all. CJ Stroud gets 2/3 of the votes, and Puka Nacua pretty much gets the other third. Those are the only two people they're even considered. The two Lions rookies, Gibbs and Laporta, even though they've had great years, just kind of lagging behind the sort of national exposure that both Stroud and Nacua got. But people seem to agree the quarterback is the more valuable and more impressive rookie debut. So they're going with CJ Stroud. I think no big surprises here.
No, not at all. CJ Stroud is a shoo-in for this. I did pick Sam Laporta, but I understand that being a tight end, being a rookie tight end, that is a long shot. I mean, I guess you have to be a rookie to win this award anyway, but still it's a long shot because it's a tight end, and I understand that. That's who I would have picked, but obviously CJ Stroud over everyone is going to win this award. Yeah. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Now, on the defensive rookie side, this is actually the closest of all the awards right here. Defensive Rookie of the Year, as we expected. This one, and we expected Coach of the Year as well to be very close. I did actually post the Coach of the Year voting, but Defensive Rookie, we did post the voting, and we have a narrow win here for Will Anderson for the Texans again, so they could win both the offensive and defensive rookie. Last year, if you remember, the Jets won both sides of that. This year, the Texans could do it again with Will Anderson. A narrow lead ahead of actually second, Devin Witherspoon, not even Jalen Carter. Devin Witherspoon, 29%, Jalen Carter, 24%.
Wow, okay.
And Brian Branch, 12%.
Yeah, that was kind of a dark horse, Devin Witherspoon. I mean, maybe there's a lot of Seahawks fans out there or something, but yeah, I picked Jalen Carter. For myself, I assume that Will Anderson will win this award, though.
I picked Will Anderson for myself and assumed that Jalen Carter would win, so it's the exact opposite. It's flipped for us. But yeah, the people prefer Will Anderson, but very tight, 35%, and then 29, 24, and 12. So by far the most even distribution of the ones that we've seen. So those are currently the favorites to win, according to the viewers of this podcast, at least. According to the viewers of this channel. How the Associated Press and affiliates are going to be voting tomorrow night, we will see, and maybe we'll cover it, maybe we'll talk about it in another, maybe if we have a show next week we can talk about it then and kind of review it. So far we've always taken a break after the Super Bowl, but maybe we can make a show like reviewing all of these awards and then deciding on which ones were justified or not, if we want to. If not, we'll take a break and come back with the UFL. But either way, those are currently our favorites here. So let's talk about I don't know, I was about to say the Pro Bowl or the Pro Bowl game. So did you watch any of it?
I did not. Absolutely did not. Man, I gave up on the Pro Bowl probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just not fun. It's just two-hand touch, you know, and I did not see any of it. I haven't even heard a lot of news out of it. Is there anything big that came from the game? Oh,
man. Keenan Allen had 4 touchdowns. I think that's the big headline. Oh, wow. But they did this like also Geno Smith, I think, threw like 3 picks in a flag football game. But what they're doing now is they're like on the last day, they sort of mix in the actual game with skills challenges. So they'll like play a quarter and then they'll do a skills challenge, and they'll play another quarter, a flag, and they'll do the skills challenge again. So they kind of mix it up, right? So it's like they're trying their best to make it as not boring as possible, given that it's not a real football game. And I think they're doing an all right job with it. I mean, it's now a full weekend. It starts on a Thursday. They're doing Thursday night for the Pro Bowl, and it goes all the way until Sunday. So it's like a whole big event over multiple days. It's a big festival. Yeah, they get all the a lot of old NFL players. They have RG3 there commenting over some of the events, and it's fine. You know, I watched the events. I watched the snippets of it. You know, the highlight videos of all the events. You get them on YouTube, like they're 10, 15 minutes each. And it's kind of fun to see Aiden Hutchinson just beat the entire AFC in tug of war by himself, for example. That was fun. Yeah, some of them are good. Yeah.
The fact that they're having, I guess the skills competitions are fun, but tug of war, like, maybe they're stretching a little bit for competitions these days.
Maybe they're put 5 people on each side, and it's like all linemen or so. They have to weigh the same amount, so like they throw a punter in there or a kicker or something. But yeah, of course they'll have to, like, because the thing is, like, you don't want no one to show up either, right? You want as many of the invitees to actually go to the Pro Bowl, because otherwise you'll end up with guys like Tyler Huntley or this year Gardner Minshew, who end up being Pro Bowlers, Geno Smith, right? So you're not going to do something that's like not fun or is physically hard on them, like play an actual football game. The thing is always some of these guys either have not worn pads and a helmet for a month because they haven't been in the playoffs, so they're not in season shape at all, and like their injury risk even in a softer game is heightened. And why would they do that? Especially because in the offseason there's a lot of money on the line for players. Or they just played last week or the week prior. That means they've been through an entire playoff cycle and they're dead. I mean, completely tired. Why would they want to play again? Players don't have much motivation to play in the Pro Bowl because it's not a prestigious thing. So they switch to flag and they try to mix in these challenges. They're making the best of what there is. But I agree. I definitely agree that the Pro Bowl has lost a lot of prestige and a lot of reason to really watch it. It's still obviously like the Pro Bowl title itself, being a Pro Bowler doesn't really that's still very meaningful. That's still a big honor and big prestige, but going to the actual event a lot less attractive for many players, and therefore for the fans as well. I always like the precision passing they do, and they're like run through walls and like push some guy on a sled or something. At least they're trying to be creative. We can give them that.
Yeah, I get it, and I do want to know who won the passing competition this year. Do you know? Either
Baker or Stroud. No, Baker. No, it was Baker won for the NFC and Stroud for the AFC, and then they went head-to-head against each other. I think Baker won that one. So Baker Mayfield, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, those are guys that would be motivated. I mean, Stroud, because he just got to the league, so of course he's going to take it all in, But Baker, maybe one year he was invited to the Pro Bowl, maybe that 2019, 2020 run.
Might have been his first one. Either that or it was his first one. And same for Stroud, yeah. But of course you got guys that just like Trent Williams was invited to his 12th Pro Bowl this year. 12. That is the most of any player in the league. And of course he has an excuse not to go because he's playing in the Super Bowl. But even if he didn't, he would not show up for the Pro Bowl.
Exactly.
I don't believe it. I don't think it just gets old after a while. You've seen everyone, you've seen everything. People like Aaron Rodgers hasn't been to the Pro Bowl in forever, right?
Exactly.
Why would they do it? But at least, they're trying to make the most of it. It's definitely something for the younger players and the rookies, and they're trying to highlight them. Your Hutchinson, Laporta, CJ Stroud was there. All those guys, and for them it's a good experience for sure. Get to see all the other veterans and kind of get their name out there as well. But it does get old if you're a Pro Bowler for 10 years straight. You kind of just stop showing up.
Yeah, exactly. I get it because I was a rapper back in the day. I still am. I just don't do it as much as I used to. And I used to attend these gatherings every summer. Big festivals, lasted 3 or 4 days. And they were so much fun at first. But after 6-7 years in a row of going out there, you're like, all right, I'm just going to skip this one. I know what it looks like. I know what, I get it.
It gets old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's totally the Pro Bowl as well.
I don't know how much of a bonus they get for being out there, but probably not enough for some of these people who have already made multi-millions. If you're a Pro Bowler, then you probably have made, if you're not on the rookie wage scale, you probably made several millions, to say the least.
You've made enough money, yeah. So the whatever Pro Bowl bonus is probably not worth it when you could be on vacation somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Because most of these guys right now, they're like, first thing they do is like they head on to the Caribbean or somewhere, Cancun, right? Get out of the bad weather and probably stay there for a month or two. I know, famously, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, they're always out playing golf, so they're never home.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, none of these guys are ever going to attend a Pro Bowl. Josh Allen, Mahomes, they're never attending a Pro Bowl ever again in their lives. They just have better things to do.
Yeah, there's no reason to. Stafford didn't. Was Stafford invited? I don't even see.
I don't know if he was invited, but he definitely wasn't there.
You would think guys like that need to be invited, right? Especially since last year we ended up with Tyler Huntley out there.
Yeah, I don't think he was there.
That's because so many people turned it down.
The NFC had Purdy and Prescott were Pro Bowlers, but they weren't there. And so it was Mayfield was there for the NFC. Who else? Geno Smith was there. And someone else who I forget.
Geno Smith.
Yeah,
after the season he had to be an alternate. There's no way he was.
Yeah, of course, it was fifth or sixth, right? Like you had Purdy and Prescott who both didn't attend, and I don't know. I don't know if Jalen Hurts was technically ahead of them as well and didn't decide to go. I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
But there was a lot of them that sort of skipped it, right? That didn't end up going.
It's unfortunate. I mean, I would like to see one where the player's taking it seriously, but I also understand. Yeah, it's a lot, but that's what makes it not so interesting anymore. When you watch even the skills competition, they're fun to watch, but you want to see the best of the best, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. And for that, how about I've heard this suggestion? Should we move the Pro Bowl to after the Super Bowl, a week or two after the Super Bowl?
Yes, absolutely. Maybe somewhere directly between the Super Bowl and the Combine.
Yeah, something like that. All the players had a chance. First of all, there's no more games. We're already in the next season, so the season's over. And you use the Pro Bowl to kick off the next league year in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. So that you're during a section where you're not getting paid. That's probably the best. Right now, they've got their year-end bonuses, season-end bonuses.
Everyone's been on vacation.
They're ready to go.
Yeah. And just by default, you lose 15 to 20 Pro Bowlers just to the Super Bowl, right? Because the teams that go to Super Bowls have the best players on them usually, and they have the most Pro Bowlers.
Obviously.
So you're missing. You're obviously missing a lot of people. I'm sure Brock Purdy would have gone to the Pro Bowl if he had the time, right? Why not?
Absolutely. Mr. Relevant has to be there.
Yeah, it'd be celebrated over there. George Kittle always goes to the Pro Bowl, famously, even though he's been invited many times. He's great at dodgeball,
Oh, yeah. Well, he's a man of the people. He's very charismatic, and I think he's outgoing and sociable. So, of course, that's the spot for him. He's out there soaking it in if he can.
Those guys. Well, one thing I learned about the Pro Bowl is that the Cowboys are a lot better at golf than they're at football. I mean, they had the golf challenge, and I think both they had their tight end Ferguson and I think their punter were by far the two best golfers, and they got incredibly close. They were 400 or 500 feet away, and they had to get the ball as close to the hole as possible in one shot, and they got within 2 feet or something. They're amazing.
Oh wow. Still a shame though if they're better at golf than football.
I think they are.
You're a professional team. I mean,
they seem to be much better.
Ferguson's going to be a great tight end, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he already has kind of ascended. He's broken out, but I think he has even better years to come.
Probably. But that's the Pro Bowl. Yeah. They make the best of it. We'll give them that. They're making the best of it with the Manning stuff, the little brother rivalry with Eli and Peyton, and the players who are there definitely are having fun, and they have a lot of the skill showdowns. It's all right. They're making the best of what the Pro Bowl no longer is, and probably won't be anymore, because they keep adding more games to the year anyway, and then players are pushed to their limits even more. They're not playing another full speed game if they don't have to.
No, definitely not.
That's how it's looking right now. But let's focus on the game that is ahead to close out the season. We have the Super Bowl coming up. Was it Super Bowl number 57, 8? I've kind of lost track 58. Here. Could be 58. No. I think it's LVIII, right? So 58.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure anymore. I think it's 58.
I know. There's been so many.
I think it's 58. But it is a rematch of a previous Super Bowl a couple of years ago, which I predicted, by the way. Just putting it out there. And you know what, Smokey? I'm going to do this again. This is not the last time we see these two teams in the Super Bowl.
That prediction is back, huh?
In their, I will specify, in their current dynasties. Not in 30 years, but the Shanahan versus Reed, the Purdy Mahomes. The current setup of their teams. Now,
oh wow,
the Chiefs like, we don't know how long Andy Reid's going to keep coaching, because he's obviously a little bit older than Shanahan. But I think, honestly, he has no... If he doesn't want to, he has no reason to retire. Like, he's got Mahomes for another 5 to 7 years at minimum. So might as well keep going and keep racking up wins, right? And the same goes for Shanahan. He's even younger, and he's probably going to cycle through a couple more quarterbacks and basically hold rosters. If there's no reason for him to go anywhere. So I'm saying this is not the last time again we are seeing these two teams in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
I think on that regard, I actually at this point have more confidence in the Niners being back over the next sort of 5 years than the Chiefs, interestingly enough, considering the Chiefs have the current dynasty going. But the reason for that is because, well, both Chris Jones and Travis Kelce are much closer to retirement than they are to their prime. Andy Reid is not that far anymore from retirement. And also, the AFC is hard, and the NFC is not. That's the thing, right? We always talk about all the good quarterbacks. You know, the path to the Super Bowl for the Chiefs was monstrous, and they did very well to get there. The path to the Super Bowl for the Niners was one of the easiest you could reasonably have to go to the Super Bowl, and they struggled. I mean, it took them 7 miracles to even get there. But generally speaking, the Eagles are frauds, the Cowboys are frauds. Lions are fine. Lions are good. Even adjusting or considering that there's another team or two that's on the rise in the NFC, which I don't even really know who that would be, I think the Niners will have a much easier part in the playoffs over the next years, possibly a decade, than Kansas City or any AFC team for that matter. But I still think they'll get back. As Kansas City has the experience, the playoff pedigree, I think they'll be able to get back again.
Well, let's think about this.
So that is my first prediction.
From 2015 through, about 2019 or so, the NFC was considered the dominant conference. So these things do change. I mean, it's not going to last forever. I know a lot of people like to think whatever's happening right now, that's just how it's going to be forever, right? It's going to flip-flop at some point. Who is going to be the team to rise up? I know the Cowboys are probably going to make the playoffs more than they don't and fail in the first, maybe second round some years. The Eagles probably think they're going to put it all back together after the very bad end of the season. I think they believe right now that they're going to put it back together. I'm sure the Buccaneers fans think that they are set to go. Panthers fans think that their quarterback's going to progress. They are a long way from making the Super Bowl. That's
long way. A lot of these teams are a long way.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, give it to the Lions, and even to let me even give it to the Packers. Right? Let's say the NFC North is going to be very, very. Let's say the NFC North is good. Like, the Seahawks are fundamentally like throwing everything asunder and then starting anew. I mean, Rams are okay. Cardinals are nothing, and I don't know if they'll be something anytime soon. Yeah. NFC South is mediocre as it is. You know, there's no team that's poised for like a breakout there. And the NFC West, the NFC East is just frauds. It's just 4 frauds.
I'm sure
they are.
I'm sure they love to hear that. I mean, considering the Eagles were in the Super Bowl last season.
They were in the Super Bowl, and then like people figured out that Jalen Hurts runs the ball.
Yeah. Oh,
and
didn't we talk about that last year though? Like, yes, this thing is working right now, but eventually teams are going to figure that out, and they are going to scheme against it. This is not going to last forever. But the
doesn't last.
Beginning of the season was phenomenal, and we're like, oh well, you know, how long is it going to take teams to figure this out? But they figured it out, and that team went down the drain at the end of the season. So yeah, people were on the Jalen Hurts bandwagon. You know, we heard it. There was so many people touting, you know, and people saying we were wrong because Jalen Hurts made it. This is an elite quarterback for many years to come. Did not work out.
Is he? Let's see. Let's judge that in many years. I don't know if he is.
Or right now, it doesn't look like it. Because if
he had a great year and a half.
Yeah, exactly. If they can stop the run, if they can stop the tush push, what else is there to their game with Jalen Hurts at quarterback?
Not a whole lot. I mean, Brett Coleman made an excellent video about the Eagles offensive scheme, and he says it's about in terms of like complexity, it's about high school level. Like, it's about something you would call for 16-year-olds.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is. He's right about that.
Yeah. It is. And it's kind of amazing that it worked for a year and a half, to tell you the truth. I would have thought, you know, by the end of last season, teams would have been figuring this out. But
yeah, it worked. It worked because it was like it worked simply on the basis of personnel, right? They had a stacked roster. They had a monstrous offensive line. They could just take people and push them back. It's very simple. It works at any level. Like if you have a 300-pound guy in like middle school football, it doesn't matter if he understands the offense. He's going to take a guy 10 yards down the field. That's all that matters, right? So the simple stuff can work for a while, or someone who's just faster than everyone, like Jalen Hurts, right? It works to a degree, but in the NFL, people adjust to it.
Yeah.
And gimmicks are great for a bit. They look amazing. People fall for them all the time. And then it's just kind of over. It doesn't go anywhere. I would be surprised if the Eagles really are back contending for any sort of championship or Super Bowl spot with that again. I don't believe it without any significant changes. I don't think they can.
Yeah, I don't either. I really don't. For one, as much as I like DeAndre Swift, they need a superstar running back also to go with that offense. And DeAndre Swift looked like he was going to be a superstar running back at one point in time, but he seemed to burn out very quickly. It was almost like a Todd Gurley thing without the 3 to 4 years of success that Todd Gurley had. But you need one of those guys if you're going to run that offense for sure. You need a Derrick Henry out there. You need the next big thing, and it's not on the horizon this draft season. I'll tell you that. The running back.
It's not a running back draft.
Yeah, it's looking very slim right now. So they may be 2 seasons away from drafting that unless they can bring in a guy. And I don't even know who's available that's not really past their prime right now. So
it's a good question.
Yeah,
the running backs expire quickly too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're missing that element right now. So they got that working against them also.
Absolutely. So it's difficult with a gimmicky offense, gimmicky team. You can be successful. You can very rarely be sustainably successful. In fact, you can't at all. You have to have a solid backbone. Like a team like Baltimore has a very solid backbone and an amazing defense. And so even though you could call their style of offense and Lamar Jackson's play gimmicky in a way, first of all, he's the best at this style of quarterback, like since Michael Vick or even ever.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And he has the backbone of like a very solid defense, right? And they can play a proper run scheme as well. And of course they have the amazing offensive line and amazing defensive line and everything that goes together. But nothing beats sustained, solid systems and schemes and play calling, and the 2 teams in the Super Bowl again represent that. And that's, by the way, why I picked this rematch to happen and why I'm picking it to happen again just ahead of time, because Reid and Shanahan have been the 2 coaches over the past 5-6 years to really embody that more than anyone else,
and fundamentally different styles at that. You have,
a little bit, yeah.
Well, you have the Chiefs who use the pass to set up the run because they don't have a superstar running back out there either. I know a lot of people believe in Pacheco, but they don't have a superstar running back. You guys do. The 49ers absolutely have that. It's run first. It's more of a power run scheme, and you use the run to set up the pass. So they are almost polar opposites, but they both work in their own way. When you have superstar quarterbacks out there, and you like that superstar quarterbacks because Brock Purdy is turning into a superstar quarterback because he's in the right system. I know you think he'll work in every system. But...
No, I mean it's all right. Like Mahomes is also a superstar because he's in the right system in part, right? We know that the most important variable for a quarterback coming into the NFL to succeed is destination. This is where they end up. That is the common denominator.
What if we put Mahomes right now on the Jets? How do you think they fare?
Pretty good, probably.
Yeah.
Like about how I would expect them to have done had Aaron Rodgers started, probably winning 10 or 11 games at least.
Yeah. I think
pretty good. But here's the thing: I would expect the same if Purdy was there on the Jets. I would expect 10 wins.
Really?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
I just know if I was a young quarterback...
You always take away like 1 or 2 wins from both of them each if they don't retain their coach, right? So if you had to have play calls from whatever the Jets offensive coordinator is going to be, instead of Shanahan or Andy Reid, I'm going to deduct a win or 2 wins per season for that. But ultimately, they're still going to be good, and the Jets team isn't bad. It's not a complete team, but they're not bad by any means.
I just know if I was a young up-and-coming quarterback, regardless of where I got drafted, Shanahan would be my first option because you know you're going to succeed there.
But you have to learn a ton of stuff. I mean, that offense is not easy.
Oh, yeah.
That is a hard offense.
I totally believe in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
sure.
if you can handle it,
of course, right? That's synergy. Like, that's how it works, right? When those combinations come together, that's how dynasties are made. That's how sustainable success happens, right? No Brady without Belichick as we know him, and no Belichick without Brady as we know him. Mahomes, Reed, same thing. Walsh, Montana, Bart Starr, Vince Lombardi. Yeah, those are the dynasties when the combinations come together.
Yeah. And you guys may be working on a dynasty. Really, if you look at it, even with the Jimmy Garoppolo days, Shanahan has put together a
does
dynasty.
that count? Does it count as one thing? Like if like say they're like sustain the current success for another 5 years, will it count? Like, will the Garoppolo years count towards it? Because that was like 2 NFC Championship appearances and a win as well.
Yeah, I think so, because when I look at the Chiefs, I think of Alex Smith as the starting of this dynasty run that they're having.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, they went from pretty low in that division to winning divisional playoff games. Well, they were making the playoffs, I'll say that. They were making the playoffs before Mahomes got there. They made the playoffs.
Gave up a spectacular comeback to Andrew Luck that one time.
Yeah, that is true. Absolutely. But yeah, they were making the playoffs for at least 2 seasons before Mahomes got there. So I look at that as those 2 seasons right before Mahomes got there. Remember that the first game of the season when they played Brady right after the Atlanta loss in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And then
I remember.
Yeah, that's almost like that was them planting like, hey, we are an elite team. I watched that game and I was like, this team is an elite team, and that was Alex Smith, and I think that's pretty much the beginning of that dynasty.
I don't know. I think when we look back, we'll probably have the dynasty marker as when Mahomes and Andy Reid got together to start.
I mean,
I don't know if people would look at the Alex Smith years. Because Mahomes started so quick, right? Mahomes' first season as a starter, he has never not been to the AFC Championship.
True.
Never.
Yeah.
Right? That's the big thing.
Well,
and Alex Smith has never been there.
Well, there's no doubt that Patrick Mahomes is better than Alex Smith. No one can deny that. But still, like, that's going to be Purdy versus Garoppolo in the future. Yeah, they're going to be like, well,
maybe
Garoppolo was making the playoffs. Garoppolo made the Super Bowl.
Maybe, yeah, you could count it all as part, right? You could.
So I think that.
And yeah, why not? I mean, I'll take it, of course.
Yeah, you should. You should. That was the beginning of the dynasty there.
We'll keep it going. Hopefully, but it's for both of those teams. It needs a couple more years to be able to call it that, right?
Yeah.
The Chiefs, obviously, on a better track right now because they've been more consistent. Again, they've never missed a championship game since Mahomes has started. The Niners have missed it twice, mostly due to just like injury-ridden seasons when those things happen. The quarterbacks were out, and more inconsistency, right, as well at the quarterback position, like the position change and the Trey Lance thing in between, just to arrive at Purdy. But yeah, we'll give them all a few more years. But let's talk about this game. Now, one thing that we usually did every week is called Guess the Biggest Spread. Now, that's not a whole lot of fun because it's only a single game. But I'll let you do this if you haven't seen it yet. Currently standing today, the night of Wednesday, before the Super Bowl, I'm going to let you guess the exact spread.
All right. Well, I do have kind of a cheat because I saw the opening line, but I have not seen it lately. I've not seen it this week at all. And I do believe that the 49ers were favored by 3 points when it opened, 3 or 3.5, something like that, if I even remember right. So I'm guessing the 49ers are still favored because the 49ers had such a much more dominant season than the Chiefs did. The Chiefs have just really started peaking in the playoffs, and they have put together a couple of phenomenal games, but their season was nothing like what the 49ers had, and Travis Kelce had a pretty horrible season for Travis Kelce standards. I am going to say that the 49ers are still favored, but I think people are betting on the Chiefs, so I think it probably has closed. I'm going to say the 49ers by 2 points.
You're exactly right.
Oh,
this one, Niners by 2 points. The opening line I saw was Niners 2.5. Niners 2.5, and it's been between, with all the sports books I followed, it's been steadily between Niners 1.5 and Niners 2.5 for the whole week. It has not changed. On average, it may have gone down a little bit because, when the Niners open as 2.5-point favorites, the majority of the money came in on the Chiefs, and then sort of the odds adjust, right?
Yeah.
And what the sports books do is, okay, like 80% of people are betting on the Chiefs at +3. Maybe our odds are wrong. Let's kick them down a little bit. Yeah. And they're trying to find this equilibrium where about 50% of the money goes in, right? Because like quick lesson in probability or maths here for our sports books. The sports books take a cut of every bet, right? So everyone who wins, okay, you win your money, but they take a little bit of a cut. And so the optimal scenario for the casino is that the bets are distributed exactly 50-50, right? Because that way, no matter who wins, the casino will make a profit off of that rake, right? Off of the whatever percent they take off of all the bets. So that's the scenario they try to create, and that's why odds get adjusted during the week. Right now, pretty consistently for a couple of days, the Niners have been -2. What do we think about that? If you had to set the odds, if you had to set the line, what would you do?
Oh man, see, I want to say that the casuals have a lot to do with that line moving a little bit. I know it's not a lot of movement overall. I mean, it's just 1 point.
It's really not a lot, no.
Yeah, but the casuals though look at this game and say, "Well, I know who Patrick Mahomes is. They may not know who Brock Purdy is. They know they see the Chiefs there almost every year. They don't see the 49ers there, at least not since 2019. And that was a different quarterback playing then. So casuals are going to look at this and go, okay, if I can get the Chiefs plus points, I'm taking the Chiefs. So that's going to move the line. If I had to set it myself, it's tough because it's Andy Reid. And you probably don't want to hear this. I would have the Chiefs by about 2 points, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Because it's Andy Reid, and it's the Chiefs, and it's Patrick Mahomes, who may just be the greatest quarterback of all time. He is not going to collapse under pressure. We still don't know this about Brock Purdy. So I am favoring the Chiefs in Las Vegas because that's a neutral field also.
We don't know it about Purdy.
Well,
the Purdy who was down 17 at
Super
halftime in the NFC Championship game.
Listen, I'm not doubting at this point that he is capable of running an elite offense. I'm not going to doubt that anymore. But we still haven't seen him in this type of big game, and we have seen maybe the greatest quarterback of all time in these types of games be victorious. Easily in some cases.
The worst game that Patrick Mahomes plays damn near every season is exactly the Super Bowl. He is transcendently good. I could argue that he is the opposite of clutch in the biggest moments. In pretty much every season that he went to the Super Bowl, the actual Super Bowl was about his worst game. The first one against the Niners, it was his worst game of the season. The one against the Bucks, it was the worst game of the season. The one against the Eagles, I mean, he made some mistakes. It was fine, but it was not his best. So if anything, Mahomes shrinks on the Super Bowl stage compared to what he does in the regular season usually, because he is so good.
Okay, well, we can say the 2019-2020 season, that win against the 49ers was a comeback win because you guys were leading by a decent amount at halftime. So Mahomes led that comeback drive. And
but he came down first. He threw a couple of picks, right?
True.
And he put up 10 points until like fourth quarter. So we'd expected more of him quicker because he ran over the rest of the league the entire regular season.
That was the 50 touchdown season. Yeah. So yeah, that's a big high to come off of, but still he was clutch in the moments where he needed to be, leading that third quarter comeback.
He does when he needs to most of the time. But not with the same class. But we've seen Purdy be down twice in crucial playoff situations. I mean, with how much more pressure can you have than a 1 seed playing at home, first playoff game after your second breakout season as Mr. Irrelevant, and you're playing the 7th seed and you're just losing the whole game. And you have to make the game-winning drive or go one and done in the playoffs as the 1 seed. That's a lot of pressure. Now, the next week, you're playing at home to win your first ever championship where you were hurt last year and didn't get a shot, and you're down 17 at halftime to this upstart Detroit Lions team. Your own fans are booing you into the locker room at halftime. How much pressure And he leads a third quarter comeback that was like, I mean, something that I haven't witnessed as a 49ers fan from any quarterback on my team ever.
It's a phenomenal feat. I'll give you that. But it's still at home. It's not a neutral field.
It's still at home, but the pressure is probably even bigger at home, no?
Maybe
you're expected to win. Like, if you lose either of those two games, that season is a failure. If you're the one seed, anything short of winning a championship is failure, technically speaking.
Well, yeah. I mean, you would look at it that way. I don't know that I would, though, to tell you the truth, because the situation you're in, like, look how far you got. Like, even if you guys lost to the Lions, look how far you got with Brock Purdy. Mr. Irrelevant is your quarterback. I would not look at that season as a failure if you guys lost.
But you can't bring up the argument, oh, look how far you got with Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy, the whole point I'm trying to make is that Brock Purdy is not a hindering factor. He's actually an enabling factor that makes everything better. But in order to prove that he has to win those games, because if he doesn't win either one of those two games, it's like, oh, look at Purdy. Even Garoppolo got further than him.
Yeah,
right? Or look at that. He got to the championship last year, and he got hurt, and they got blown out by the Eagles, and this year they lose again to the Lions. Right? He can't make it to the Super Bowl. He can't win the big games.
Oh, that would absolutely be the narrative. They're going to say, well, you have Christian McCaffrey, you have George Kittle, you have Deebo Samuel, you have Brandon Ayuk, and you can't win those games. You're not the right quarterback. That's absolutely, but. He is he's shaking that off. Like people are starting to open up to Brock Purdy. I really do believe that.
Let's see. I don't believe they have yet. I don't believe they will for a while. I really don't believe it matters if he wins this game or not. If he does, they're still finding reasons. They're gonna find reasons. Oh, they won despite him, because so far they've won every game despite Brock Purdy, right? It doesn't matter if he wins the MVP next year. It's just his team elevated him to do it. So people will, if they want to hate Purdy, and they do, they will always find something. So they always will find something.
Do you think that Jimmy Garoppolo worked against Brock Purdy having success with Garoppolo? He was a backup.
No, I don't think so. I think it's pretty irrelevant, actually. I know Niners are like infamously for being harsh on their own quarterbacks for some reason. Like, Niners fans are ruthless when it comes to their own quarterbacks. People were hating on Garoppolo every week. They're hating on Purdy every week. Trey Lance was a bust before he even took the field, and now he's the worst draft pick of all time already in franchise history and whatnot. But the reason that Purdy is getting the narrative that he's getting is because egos in the media are not able to accept that they missed on him. That's as the simplest truth, the way I can put it. People are unable to accept that this 7th round Mr. Irrelevant, damn near undrafted, is that good. And so they're trying to think of anything that would justify him not being that good. Anything to justify the success despite him. Because he can't be that good, because I didn't say that he would be that good. And I can't miss, right? That's why.
Maybe you're just listening to draft analysts. Either way, I think those are the people you might be listening to, because I hear other former player analysts that are all on board with Brock Purdy. Like Mark Schlereth is
There are some.
Yeah,
there are some.
Absolutely on board with Brock Purdy.
And I'll give credit, right? Richard Sherman, Emmanuel Acho is kind of coming around. There are some, but the majority is still it's ridiculous and disrespectful for Purdy. They are trying their best to make him less than what he is, to fit with what they initially thought of him. That's absolutely the truth, the best way I can explain it.
I'll tell you this, though. If he keeps it up for 4 more years, then there's no one that's going to doubt him anymore. You know?
That, for sure, yeah. It's a matter of time. But right now, they'll milk it as far as they can.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get some people pushing back, of course. Because for the exact reason that you said. Like, I didn't think he was anything, so I don't believe he's anything until proven otherwise.
I mean, if he just imagine what the consensus about him in the media would be had he been a first-round pick. Like, it's very clear what it would be, right? He's the next great.
C.J. Stroud.
He's up there.
Yeah,
put him up there with Mahomes and Allen and Rodgers and Burrow, right?
Yeah.
That's where he belongs. right? But for now, it's right because he's Mr. Old. Oh, he still has to prove himself. And he has to prove himself again and again and again because he hasn't done it yet.
Well, yeah, and he wasn't winning national championships in college. You know, he wasn't all pro. You know, he has a past to overcome. We'll say that. Same thing Tom Brady did.
He has a past to overcome of, like, not being a flashy, like, SEC player or something. But he was one of the best quarterbacks, and he's the best quarterback in Iowa State history.
Well, it's Iowa State, though.
Made this team, he turned this team into what it was. Yes, it's just Iowa State. Of course, it's not your Alabama, it's not your FSU or LSU or whatever, but, you know, ultimately it doesn't matter because he can play quarterback the way that quarterbacks play successfully. That's what matters, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's proving it right now. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and give you a little insight to why people are thinking that way.
I get it. But I guess what's most important is that the people on the team realize what they have in him, and they absolutely do, and he's going to be extended once his rookie deal's up, and he'll be there for a long time.
Yeah, it makes sense, yeah.
So that's all that matters. But we talked about the line here. You said you'd give it -2 Kansas City if you had to set the line. Here's what I would do, because there's two ways I'm thinking about this. I would give it exactly a pick'em. That's the first thing I would do. I would not give anyone an edge. But it depends on how conspiratorial you want to approach the game. And this is part of football discussion now. Yeah. And I want to preface it again by saying that NFL games are not scripted in the way that people like to joke about, as in that, like, everything is exactly, like, figured out beforehand, because that's impossible to put into practice. Yeah. I will also preface this by saying that the NFL absolutely undeniably has interests in certain players and games and teams to win or not win. That is probably an undeniable fact. If you're willing to completely deny that fact, I think you're not paying very good attention. So is the NFL rigged, scripted? Yes, no. The answer is somewhere in between those two extremes, right? In reality,
it's all shades
almost
of gray.
Certainly.
Yes.
Yeah, almost certainly. Now you can attack. Okay, let's assume first there's absolutely nothing, right? This game is as neutral and even and impartial as it can possibly get. I would give it a pick. I would actually give the Niners probably a point or two. I would say -2 is fine, because. Yeah, I understand Mahomes is the better quarterback, but Purdy is not that bad. The Niners probably have a better receiving core. They have a better linebacking core. On paper, they should have a better defensive line. Whether that happens in practice or not, I don't know. Chiefs are better in the offensive line. The Chiefs are better in the defensive backfield, but those are the only really big strengths the Chiefs have, right? 2 all-pro tight ends. And let's say the coaches are about even. Quarterbacks, yeah, Mahomes is better, but could be a bigger edge. So overall, slight advantage for the Niners, also given what we've seen during the regular season. So if I had to give an edge, I'd give the Niners a point or two. However, depending on how conspiratorial you want to be, this line can move wildly and in whatever direction, right? Now, the one thing that always surprised me, because in my opinion, and this is probably not just my opinion, I think a lot of people recognize that, NFL kind of likes the Chiefs.
Yes.
NFL kind of likes the Chiefs winning. A lot of people say the NFL also likes the Niners winning. I don't know. Like, I know they've been lucky. They've gotten much better calls this year than they have in other seasons. People like to say that a lot because they hate a team. But we have some pretty good idea that the NFL, generally speaking, likes the Chiefs to win. And also likes the Chiefs to be in the Super Bowl at the moment, this point in time. So, if you want to be very conspiratorial, you could say, okay, the NFL probably will ever so slightly nudge this in the Chiefs' favor, right? And that suspicion alone maybe should set the line to exactly a pick'em. Should probably offset the 1 or 2 points. But then you could attack it from the other way, which is, this is something that's going in my mind, right? I'm kind of mind gaming myself here all week. If this, like, sports books, right? The betting providers, you would not believe the amount of money that goes through Vegas nowadays in sports betting. I mean, it's a huge mafia-esque business. It's dystopian, actually. But if anything is going on behind the scenes, they will know. And you know that, for example, from like, you can bet on wrestling, right? On like WWE matches.
Yeah.
If like a day before a match, the odds shift like 1,000 to 1 in one direction, you know what's going on.
Yes.
They heard something. They were tipped off from like some insider thing.
A Reddit
they
user.
know exactly. Yeah, they know exactly what's happening. Because those matches are actually scripted. The outcome's predetermined for sure.
Absolutely.
The fact that
go ahead.
The fact that the Niners are still favored in all sports books it perplexes me a little bit, because it doesn't align with the idea that the NFL has an interest in pushing the Chiefs to win. But then you could attack it from a different perspective. What if the sports betting mafia has more of an impact on what the actual NFL does than vice versa? What if they're so powerful that, hey, you know, they could potentially influence or nudge the game in a certain way? Because if like 80% of the money goes in on Kansas City, the betting mafia has a huge interest in San Francisco winning, because they'll print money, right? Because the bets are so off. So I'm surprised by this, because a lot of people are betting on Kansas City. We know the NFL likes Kansas City. The NFL has a narrative to want Kansas City to win. Why are the books not reacting? Like, obviously they know all of this. They're not blind to this. Why are the books not reacting?
Well, I do feel like the Chiefs are the new Patriots. You know, the Patriots were not one of those blue blood teams. The 49ers are absolutely one of the blue blood teams. You got Dallas, you got the Steelers, you got the 49ers, you got the Packers. Those are the blue blood teams. And San Francisco is not the biggest market in the world, but they have nationwide teams that are going to throw their monies on the 49ers. But the Chiefs, much like the Patriots, that's the new golden boy. That's the new team that the NFL is selling merchandise for, and they are building a nationwide fan base. And probably like the Patriots, it will fall off one day because they are not a true blue blood team. But I think that offsets it. I do. I think that offsets it, because the 49ers are a nationwide team. And I don't know. I'm thinking about, would the NFL really push a game? Not saying it's rigged, like you said, but would they push a game in a certain direction to appease Vegas? Is Vegas actually running the NFL per se?
That's a good question, right? Or do they push the game in the direction because of another agenda they have internally? But if that's the case, see, Vegas knows if they influence the NFL or not, right? So if the betting providers know they do not have an influence on which direction the game gets nudged, they should move their line, right? Because they know exactly their leverage and their stake. So they should move their line. If they know, hey, we cannot in any way get the NFL to favor the Niners, we should move the line because we're losing money, right? Because the Chiefs might win.
Yeah.
That's what's so weird to me.
Maybe it comes down to the casuals. You know, like I said, a lot of people are betting on the Super Bowl that don't even watch football, that don't watch the NFL, because it's just a ritual.
But
to bet on the Super Bowl.
People bet on the Chiefs. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, but like I said, 49ers is a blue blood team. But then again, you may be right though, because the casuals saw this game happen in 2019. And, you know, they don't really know how much of a difference these teams are at this point in time from 2019. And they saw the outcome of that. So you would think they would also be betting on the Chiefs. So,
exactly. That's the weird thing.
Yeah.
The more money goes in on the Chiefs, the more the sportsbook wants the Niners to win. And so therefore the line should move if the sportsbook cannot influence the game in somewhat to like adjust their odds to be better for them, or the edge to be bigger.
Yeah. But
the line hasn't moved.
Yeah, or slightly at least.
Very slightly. Yeah. But up and down by half a point over the week. That barely counts. That's what's weird. And all of this is very conspiratorial, by the way.
Yeah.
Like we know that there's like stuff going on behind the scenes we don't even dream of, right? So that's the other thing.
Yeah. Does that mean that the 49ers are going to win this game though? If it's all conspiratorial. Not saying it is, but if it's all conspiratorial, does this mean that the 49ers are going to win this game?
if the sports books can influence the NFL, and like the betting providers can basically rig games in the NFL in their favor, then yes, they will rig it for the Niners. Because right now the sports books make a ton of money if the Niners win.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, because it doesn't align with the interests of the NFL. See, if there wasn't any betting, then we would say if any team is being rigged for here or is favored, then the NFL would rig it for the Chiefs, because that's more their interest to win. So those interests don't align. That's what's weird, and the betting line isn't moving. That's what's weird. I don't.
Maybe drop some money on the 49ers then.
I don't know. I don't know. The thing is, like, okay, like, even if any game in the NFL is rigged, right? Let's assume a game was rigged as blatantly as it can be, okay? I would say only about 10% of the time it would make, 10 to 20% of the time it would make a difference in the outcome of the game. Because if a team is much better than the other, you can't do anything about that. Like, there was no way the NFL could have made the Cowboys win against Green Bay. No matter how hard they tried. Right? Because you have to maintain some degree of subtlety. So, like, for example, like, the worst case of, like, potential rigging we've seen this season was the Eagles and the Dolphins, where the Dolphins got 10 penalties and the Eagles got 0, and like half of them were complete baloney. That was the worst officiated game of the season and the most blatant case of what could be game fixing by the NFL. And the only reason it worked is because the game was organically close, right? If the Dolphins had played against, let's say, the Giants or the Commanders, right? You're not getting that team to beat the Dolphins, even with that blatant amount of rigging. Like, in most cases, you don't. So in order for game rigging or game fixing to have an effect, the game has to be very close. And then it comes down to, like last year's Super Bowl, right? That sort of dubious defensive holding call on the Eagles at the goal line. That flag decided the game, or it played a big part in deciding the game, or pushed the game into the favor of one specific direction. But the only reason that could have happened is because it was so close. Right? There's no way you could make the Chiefs win that Super Bowl against Tampa Bay with any officiating in the world.
That makes me think of the Falcons versus Patriots, and that was a huge lead. And all of a sudden, penalty on the Falcons, over and over and over again.
But see, here's the thing, right? You can say the NFL wanted the Patriots to win that game.
Absolutely, they did.
You can say that, but here's the thing. There is absolutely no way the NFL could force the Patriots to win that game if the Falcons don't turn into a pumpkin.
Yeah, well, I mean,
in the fourth quarter, there is nothing the NFL can do to make the Patriots win the game if the Falcons don't completely fall off.
I'll give you that. They did for some reason. Dude, I have so many conspiracy theories about that game. I've been touting them for years.
I remember that the Shanahan playbook thing and the Garoppolo trade was involved.
Yes, so much. Because it just did not make sense.
The hardest thing to accept is that you simply deserve to lose a game. That is the last thing any sports fan ever wants to accept. That there's no external factor to blame. Well, I mean, karma-wise, no, but the way the Falcons played, I mean, they gave it up. They gave it up.
I understand the defense getting tired. That's why so many games have so much scoring in the fourth quarter, because defenses get tired. And you look at every game every year almost, there's going to be more points scored in the fourth quarter than any other quarter. That's just how it works. But for the offense to stop moving altogether, like, I don't know. It just didn't make sense.
Yeah, you can go the route of, like, okay, the game was rigged to such a degree that they suddenly intentionally lost, right? But assuming that is not the case, because I
somebody knew every play they were going to run before it was rigged.
Suddenly, all right.
Yeah, halftime.
And by the way,
maybe.
Like, coaches don't game plan the fourth quarter ever. Like, even if you know their whole call sheet, you still don't know what play they're going to, what play they're going to call in what situation.
There was issues with the headsets in that game.
I never heard about that, actually.
Yeah, go back and watch the game. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in the
issues.
Late third quarter, I believe, early fourth quarter, Matt Ryan's headset just stopped working. Yeah.
But even then, there is nothing that stops you when you're the Falcons from calling a run on that third down instead of just and kick the damn field goal. Right?
I'll give you that. Thanks, Shanahan.
It comes down to like whatever. Like, had the Falcons not acted stupid, the NFL could not have turned that game around, even if they tried as much as possible. That's always the hardest part for anyone to admit, that you just it's kind of just your own fault you lost.
Or Shanahan's fault.
Anyone on your team, right? It's your team's fault.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
it's not God intervening. It's not everything's rigged against you. That's the hardest thing anyone always wants to admit. And sometimes you just, like, the Lions fans are going through that right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, in the NFC Championship game. The most difficult thing to say is, yeah, you know what, we threw this away. It's our fault. We lost. We deserve to lose. No one wants to say that, right?
No.
It sounds so bad.
No, but it was our year.
Exactly. But the thing is, realistically, in like 90+% of cases, that is the truth. That's simply how it is.
Yeah,
right?
90.
90+% for sure.
That game was in the 10%.
The Super Bowl? I don't know about that. The NFL really wanted to rig that. Would they allow 28-3 to happen to begin with? Because they know it's very difficult to turn that around with all the rigging they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first half was probably played fairly. And then in the second half, they're like, wow, if Brady can pull off this comeback, this will be the greatest moment in sports history. So, of course, the NFL looking at it like, what do they care about the Falcons, you know? The NFL looking at it like, but if Brady can pull this off, this is the greatest moment in sports history, right?
But then they waited until the fourth quarter to begin.
Well, it started partway through the third. I mean,
because the Falcons scored the first touchdown coming out of halftime,
out of halftime, and that was it. No more for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that was it. Exactly. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it depends. You know, it depends how deep you want to go into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for this one, if the game is like 28-28, right, and it's like a minute left to go, and like Patrick Mahomes has the ball on the 20 and he's driving for a touchdown, will the ref be like 5% more inclined to throw a defensive PI than he would for a different team? I am convinced that the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
In the minute case where the game comes down to like a single play, because that's the thing. The game has to come down to pretty much one or two individual plays for the refs to influence it like that. Will the Chiefs probably be favored by officiating? Yes. Does that mean that like that they should be massively favored in the books? No, it's because it's not very likely that situation will come to be anyway. Yeah, that's I guess why. But that possibility alone, because we are expecting a close game. The odds are saying it's supposed to be a close game. 2 point spread, right? It's supposed to be a close game, so we do expect very key moments to play a role. Yeah.
And I would put money on very key penalties happening in the fourth quarter. Absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game. And if that happens, I'm 80% sure those key penalties will go against San Francisco.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sure of that. I will also say though, and because I'm not like a blind homer, the Niners have an affinity for actually committing backbreaking key penalties in key situations, not just being like having stupid flags, like being rigged against whatever. They do have that. One of their Achilles heels is they actually commit very stupid penalties in key situations. I'm fully going to admit that, but there's a good chance that if like a bogus penalty is called, it'll probably be against San Francisco and it'll probably be important.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I am expecting to see that at some point in this
Now,
game.
is that an excuse if the Niners lose? In 9 out of 10 cases, it's not an excuse, because in 9 out of 10 cases, that's not what loses you the game, right? By all intents, Niners should come out there with Debo and McCaffrey and run them over.
Yes.
Right? They've done that to most teams. Right? They should be doing that. And also, if the Niners play a first half like they did against Green Bay and the Lions, they have nothing to complain about because they didn't deserve to beat Green Bay and they also didn't deserve to beat the Lions. And somehow they came out both of those. And given the effort they showed in the first half, they didn't deserve to win. Somehow they came out and did it. There's nothing to complain about if the Niners play the way they've been playing. Right? You gotta play 60 good minutes.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's pretty much, that's simply it.
And if they do it's going to be a close game.
If they play 60 good minutes, it first of all requires the Chiefs to have the best game of their season by far.
Yeah, well,
and they have a very good chance of winning.
Yeah, so far the Chiefs have been ramping up to that. But I know you said that Mahomes plays his worst game in the Super Bowl, but that's going to be a tough feat considering some of the games that he's had this season. But,
yeah, this season, if this is his worst game, they're getting blown out really badly.
Yeah, absolutely.
He has to carry this team. This is probably his worst season? Super Bowl offense so far, and his own season. It's the best defense he's ever had, but it's probably the worst offense he's ever had.
Yeah, I agree
and
with that.
He has to carry the team. He has to have one of his best games of the year to win. Otherwise, it could get pretty bad.
Yeah,
but considering that usually 30 minutes of Niners A game is enough to beat any team, or has so far been enough to beat any team. If they play 60 minutes of their A game, they stand a very good chance of winning. But that's the thing, right? Play calling. I'm not big on Steve Wilkes and trusting him to call 60 minutes of good defense here.
Well, you would hope Shanahan can overrule anything, right?
But it's a defensive coordinator. Shanahan's not going to start calling defensive plays.
No,
you can tell him, go bring more pressure.
If Steve Wilkes makes a stupid call, he's going to be like, yeah, we need to change that up.
He's made a lot of stupid calls in the first half against Green Bay and the Detroit Lions. And then they came out at halftime and they kind of adjusted and they got it right.
Adjustments. Yeah, that's on the head coach.
Yeah, exactly. But just go into the game without the stupidness and you'll win anyways, right? You don't have to make it so close. Like, I'm sitting there at halftime against the Lions and I want to go to bed because it's like, we're completely getting blown out by the damn Lions in our own home stadium. What's going on, right? Yeah. I don't want to go through that again.
Did you notice, this is completely going back a couple of weeks here, but did you notice that the Lions kind of used a 49er offense in that game? Did you notice that Jameson Williams almost became the Debo of the Lions?
Yeah, that was he had that big end around 50-yard touchdown.
Yeah, it looked to me like they were mimicking the 49ers offense and using that against them. Didn't work out in the end, but it was pretty cool to see, though.
Because they stopped calling it too. Like, the play calling for the Lions just went like absolutely down the crapper in the second half for some reason when it really didn't need to.
It was working. Why not keep doing that?
I don't know. They choked it away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not sure. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain sometimes. But I don't want the Niners to play defensively in the first half again the way they have been the last two games, because it's just unnecessary and you're kind of throwing the game away doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Still a great defense you're going against.
Yes, best defense aside from Baltimore we've faced all year. Noteworthy, very important. Especially great pass defense too. Those two all-pro corners, they're good. They're good. Interior offensive line, Chris Jones against any of those three guys, mismatch. George Kalafdis versus Colton McKivitz is a mismatch. It'll be tough. Like, Purdy's going to be under pressure a lot. Like, they will get to Purdy. And he will have to play an all-time game for sure, because he's got the pass in his face, he's got a great pass defense, he's got a lot of things stacked against him, so he'll have to play a great game.
Absolutely. So who are you gonna pick?
All right, my turn to go first, right? Kind of have to strategize this depending on who you want to pick, so I can make you make your less favorite pick for our little prediction mini game. I'm gonna put the conspiratorial hat on this time. I'm going Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think the NFL will be able to resist having a certain celebrity give a victory speech on the biggest televised event in football, and the league is going to hate them for, the fans are going to hate them for it. And I think in the long term they're shooting themselves in the foot because they're alienating their actual fan base, and whenever Travis Kelce retires in a year or two, the fake fan base will stop watching, and then no one's going to be left. But short-term money is a big corrupter. So I'm going to say it'll be a tough game. It'll be the kind of game where the 1 in 10 scenario where officiating can make the difference. And whether it will or not, if it does, it'll be in Kansas City's favor. So I will take the Chiefs. I think they're going to give Andy Reid the Reid Kelce Mahomes, which might be the last time they get this chance together. I think they'll give them one more.
Did a 49ers fan just steal my pick and force me to pick the 49ers? Is that what this happened?
I got it. See, I knew you were going to go that way. I got it right. I was thinking which way you were going. So
I was going conspiratorial the whole time. This is Taylor Swift's Super Bowl to win.
Took it. Stole it away.
If the Chiefs do not win this game, how much viewership they are going to lose from those Taylor Swift fans? Like, there is
viewership of what though, right?
No,
like there's no Chiefs game for 6 months either way.
Yeah, and Kelce might be gone after the season anyway.
Kelce might retire. Taylor Swift is not exactly known for having relationships that last more than 6 months.
Maybe not.
And also, like, this entire fan base are, like, on average 14 years old, right? I don't know if their attention span survives an off season.
Yeah, probably not. But if Kelce does come back next season, they're going to want those Taylor Swift fans. If they're still together.
It's not sustainable. Like, he's man, if they're okay, like, say they actually like are gonna get married and whatnot, you know what that schedule looks like? Like, they're traveling the world constantly, and like, she's earning triple the amount of money he does anyway. There's no incentive for him to keep playing, time wise, like family wise, right, and also money wise. I don't know. Like, the saving grace, the solace here is that this circus, even though it's as annoying as it's been in NFL history, it's not going to last very long. That's the biggest deal. Jason Kelce's already gone. He's, of course, making it worse by being his annoying self in the stands now with the rest of the family, which is just the worst thing ever. But once Travis Kelce retires, and thank God he's on the wrong end of 30, that circus is largely going to be over, and maybe the Reid-Mahomes duo can reattain that bit of likability they had before all of this happened. And I hope they do, because I want to like them, right? I still like Mahomes. I really want to like Mahomes. But, you know, he has to start acting right and not turn into Tom Brady. And Reid does not turn into Belichick, and Travis Kelce, and Travis Kelce and his whole family have to retire from NFL TV. Hopefully sooner than later.
So maybe you're making me feel better about this pick. The point is to get her there. That brings in the viewership. We expect them to be gone after this game anyway, so it really doesn't matter. We don't have to make sure the Chiefs win this game. I will be going with the super team then, because there is a much better offense, at least offense, if, you know, defense is comparable at least. But the 49ers have a much better offense. They have a better scheme. The Chiefs are only running off of a over-the-hill tight end and a superstar quarterback, whereas the 49ers are a complete offense, and they have pieces everywhere. Even if you don't like their offensive line, they have skill position players all over the field that can make humongous plays to win this game. I will take the 49ers. I have no other choice, but I'm still...
Yeah, no other choice, yeah. See, I actually took advantage of the psych game by... the disadvantage of going first, but I got it right.
I thought there was no way you would pick against your team. How do you do that?
I'm not supposed to, right? And I don't want to, obviously. But yeah, I just put the tinfoil hat on, and I was like in the back of my mind, I was like thinking what your thought process could be, and I just I that was my best guess. So that was the best shot I had.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Absolutely.
Had it figured out.
I was thinking Taylor Swift, if she's only here for 1 year, she's going to win a Super Bowl.
You think so, right?
But, you know, maybe they're looking at it as, hey, we got them here. It's like a car salesman, you know. Like, the key is just to get them on the lot, regardless if they drive home with a lemon, you know, a clunker or whatever. Just get the fans on the lot.
Could be. I just had a thought, and this is also like this is going at crazy territories, but obviously like basically the entire NFL like fan base hates this whole thing with the Chiefs and Taylor Swift, right? They just want no part of it and want to get rid of it, right? Now, what is more likely? The Chiefs win and the Kelce family altogether retires, or the Chiefs lose and Travis Kelce retires? What's more likely?
Well, he wants to go out with a win, of course.
Absolutely.
But his brother retired off of a loss.
That's correct.
So maybe it's not that important.
But his brother also understood that the Eagles don't have a very good chance of going to the Super Bowl next year.
True. Yeah.
The Chiefs do.
Absolutely do.
So I think if the Chiefs lose this game, the chance that Travis Kelce retires is less than 10%. But if they win the game, I think the chance he retires is like 50.
Yeah, I would give it somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah.
I hope he does. If you gave the entirety of the NFL community those odds, and remember that people really don't like the Niners either, aside from their own fans. Do you think a lot of people would pick the Chiefs just to get the circus out of town, get it over with? Because they don't want to see another year of it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're smart, yeah, get the circus over with, yeah. You know what? I'm going to give it higher odds than that. I think Travis Kelce has a 90% chance of walking away regardless of the outcome of this game.
Wow. If they lose?
A win. Yes, if they lose also. He wants to go out on a win, but the trend I've seen in the past is, especially with tight ends, and it happens to quarterbacks sometimes also, but especially with tight ends, and maybe even wide receivers if I really look at it, but I've noticed mostly with tight ends that when they start talking about retirement the season before, they retire after that season. That means that there's something they're not liking about training camp. They're talking about retirement in the offseason. They are not looking forward to that training camp. And your body's getting older. You're beat up. You know how rough a whole nother season is. You've got all the money you need, Travis Kelce. You're going to retire after this game, win or lose.
That is correct. You've won. You've broken your records. You've won whatever. You don't really... and then when August runs around, you could either go on vacations with your $500 million wife,
yes,
or you could go and get the crap kicked out of you in training camp, right?
Absolutely, at 33 or whatever. Yeah,
at 33, 34 years old, and your bones still hurt from less. It's true. It's a point. It gets more and more tempting for sure the more you've achieved as well. How about Gronk though? He retired with the Patriots and then he came back for the Bucs.
yeah, he got back down there with Tom Brady for one season and said, I remember why I quit.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's much more of a freak athlete than Travis Kelce is.
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah, Tom Brady talked him into it. He said, okay, I'll do it. One season, he was like, this is why I retired.
I don't know if Jason Kelce retires if the Eagles make it to the Super Bowl or championship game this year. If he has a very legitimate hope that this team will run it back next year, maybe he doesn't retire. Maybe he goes for another playoff run.
I don't know. I think they're both ready to just get out of the game.
I hope so. I mean,
I do too.
It could not be better for the NFL to be rid of both of them.
Yes, that.
Do you remember when they were likable? Remember 7 years ago when both of them were very likable characters?
Absolutely.
They were underdogs. Everyone was rooting for them.
It started when Travis started getting into these game shows, dating shows. He started showing up in commercials more, and I guess the stardom just took over, and he became a douchebag. Yeah,
and then when Philadelphia won the Super Bowl, of course, Jason Kelce got hung up on all of it as well.
Yes,
and now he's just being the most annoying guy he could possibly be in the VIP box.
Yeah.
With no shirt and a Chiefs hat on. I don't know, man.
And they're tenured, these guys so they feel like none of these younger players are going to say anything to us anyway. We can act how we want to act. Yeah.
Both of these guys were very likable, and I remember when that was the case. I know it's gonna complete crap. One thing, I will end this on a positive note, though. I will say something positive about Travis Kelce before we leave the show, which is that this is by no means self-explanatory, unfortunately, but he actually has a very good take on Brock Purdy. He said very good things about Purdy, very reasonable manner too, like not like he was joking or like being mean or anything. He was honest about Brock Purdy. He says that's a real quarterback. That guy's for real. I don't understand how he gets the slander. He says, how can you not cheer for that guy? Absolutely the truth. So for once, he's saying something. He actually said something that I can really respect and I can applaud. Between all the other nonsense and all the other bull crap he does, that's one thing I'll give him. That's one thing I'll give him. He had a better showing at the interviews than Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, I did not see that clip of the presser, but I'm surprised that he would show that kind of respect because he hasn't been a very respectful person lately. Has
not been, but and Purdy is the easiest person to not be respectful to because everyone's piling up on him. You can say whatever you want, like, yo, he wears his hat wrong. His name sounds like Turdy. There's nothing he could have said to tear down Brock Purdy that would have sounded ridiculous. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
Because everyone's already said the most ridiculous things, but instead he chose to be very, very respectful, very realistic as well. Didn't trash talk his upcoming opponent at all. Said, rooting for the guy, cheer for him. But yeah, that's one thing. I'll give him that one. I will give him that one.
That is
still hope he retires.
That is a surprise. I would not have expected that from him.
Absolutely not. Still hope he retires. And this whole gang, I do not ever want to see anyone called Kelce in an NFL stadium again. And that includes a lot of people.
One more thing going in my favor, that the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes tend to win one, lose one. So maybe we'll keep that pattern up as far as Super Bowls.
It's happened once now, right? They've won and lost and won.
Yes. So maybe we're going to keep the pattern going here. Maybe that works in my favor.
I think you can only call it a pattern when they lose again, because the pattern could also be they win, lose, win, lose, right?
Yeah. Well,
the cycle is not complete yet. If they lose, then there's a complete cycle.
Yes, exactly. And we're going to complete the first cycle here. Yes.
Okay. So that means they're going to another 4 Super Bowls.
Yes, absolutely. I do not doubt that at all.
Yeah. Oh God, please no. As long as it's not the whole circus show with Kelce and Mahomes and Reed start acting a little bit better as well.
Yeah.
Turn it down on the commercials just a little bit. Like it was fun to start the State Farm thing, and they took Andy Reid to eat a cheeseburger. That's funny. Sure.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
But
be the underdogs again.
Yeah, well, there's going to be Chiefs fatigue coming up because we saw it with the Patriots. I'm sure it happened with the Steelers back in the 70s and whatnot. And
it's always. It's happened to like all the blooper teams. Like they have a lot of haters. The Cowboys, Niners, Packers. Yeah. Most of the league hates those teams and always will hate those teams. And the simple reason for that is, one, because you've seen them so much, you're sick of them, and also, if you have teams like the Steelers, Patriots, Niners, Cowboys, almost every NFL fan base has bad memories connected to that team.
Yeah.
Has memories of their team getting blown out or losing crushing games to those teams because they've been winning so much historically.
Yeah,
that's why I hate them. No one who hates the Lions? That's not like a rival team, right?
Yeah.
Right? And the thing is, the Chiefs were the Lions, if you remember, in 2018. In 2018, Mahomes' first season as a starter, and he won the MVP. The Kansas City Chiefs went to the AFC Championship game to play the big bad Patriots, and they lost in the most heartbreaking manner to an offsides penalty.
Yes,
they were what the Lions were this year. The beloved underdog team everyone was rooting for to upset the evil empire, basically, right? Yeah. And I remember that too. Everyone was sick to their stomach because the Chiefs lost that game to the Patriots.
Yeah, and
exactly what happened to the Lions just now. Everyone who's not a Niners fan is sick about the Lions losing that game.
And did the Patriots beat the Jaguars that season also with Blake Bortles?
That was the previous year.
Okay, that was 18.
Also that was also an AFC Championship.
Yes, it was. Yes, that was 18.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's when the conspiracy theories around I guess it was probably going on because the Patriots won so much before that, but that was when it became apparent, like, okay, we're fixing these games for Tom Brady to win, aren't we? I mean, it was all over the internet at that point. And it really looked like
that season was egregious.
Yeah, absolutely. But to go back and watch that Jaguars game, that was also... I mean, it was Blake Bortles versus Tom Brady, so you expect the Patriots to win. But no.
You expect it.
The Jaguars had that game won until penalty after penalty after penalty.
Yeah. And a very good drive by the Patriots offense.
Yeah, I mean...
will not take that away. It still did happen.
Have to hold up your end of the bargain, of course, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. But I remember, like, it's the first time I've really seen this whole cycle happen from lovable underdog to you know, the hated team. The whole, like, babyface entrance to final heel turn, right?
Yeah.
That's sure, the first time.
I'm sure that happened, you know. Drew Bledsoe going into Tom Brady was probably like Alex Smith going into Patrick Mahomes, so I'm sure
people were rooting for Brady like in 2001, right? His first season as starter, 6th round pick, had to take over for the injured guy. Absolutely. But then it started off with like with the talk rule game, and he already got bailed out big time, and immediately there was bad blood, right? But for Mahomes and for the Patriots, it actually started out with like, he won the MVP, he's really good, you know, they earned it, they deserved it. Andy Reid built up his whole entire career to have a roster like that, so it was much more of a feel-good story. Same as the Lions now, you know, they like blue collar, they built up from the ground, and they finally are having success, so people feel good about it. Now, if the Lions go to 6 Super Bowls in the next 10 years, people are going to be sick of the Lions too, which is something that is unthinkable for us now. But in the same way, it was unthinkable that the Chiefs would be the Patriots in 2017.
Yeah, it sounds so weird, but it will happen, yeah. Like, oh, God, I'm sick of the Lions.
Can always happen, yeah, absolutely.
Sounds so weird.
And this is, by the way, I said this is the Meteor Bowl for the Eagles earlier, but so much more for the Raiders. I mean, it's in their own stadium. I mean, one of these teams will have one more playoff games at the Raiders stadium than the Raiders.
Yeah, but considering they came from Oakland and now they're in Las Vegas,
there's
and
a huge
division rivals are the Chiefs.
Chiefs logo painted on the Raiders locker room right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's gotta suck.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And the Niners too, eternal like Bay rivalry.
Like Tom Brady going to play for the Buccaneers and then winning a Super Bowl in Atlanta's stadium using Atlanta's locker room.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much, but except if they done it against the Saints, who are also in that Super Bowl for some reason.
Yeah, there is one extra element there. Yes.
Yeah. So for Raiders fans, this is darkness. This is bad. And definitely the Meteor Bowl.
So no Raiders fans at the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, no Raiders. They're going to evacuate the city because whoever's winning, they do not want to see a parade.
I think most of their fans are still in LA, to tell you the truth.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, I think so. That's probably where they belong too.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Raiders need to move back to LA. Kick the Chargers back to San Diego. Fixes a lot of things.
Rams back to St. Louis.
Rams back to St. Louis. Yeah.
Let's just reverse the past decade.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, that would make a lot of things better in the NFL, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially the teams moving. Yeah, most of these moves did not pan out. But I mean, the Rams have a history in LA, and they're fine over there. The Chargers really don't. Like, I have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
And the Raiders, like, similarly, is no point.
Yeah, unfortunately. Especially the way their seasons have gone recently. Yeah,
Raiders are in tough time as well. See how they go forward. We have to cover the draft when we get there because it's going to be very interesting.
Absolutely.
And starting in a few weeks, it'll be very, very key. And a lot of teams are going to be looking forward to new quarterbacks. And it's going to be a good quarterback
and there's
draft
a lot of them in this draft.
Oh, yeah. There's a bunch. Bunch of good ones, too. Mock draft season starts Monday morning at 8 a.m.
Absolutely. And you'll sit down.
For sure. Can't wait. But yeah, hour and a half show for this for only a single game. Classic scoreboard. Yeah. But I think we'll end it. We've made our predictions. Please let us know your predictions as well, and then we're excited to watch the game, see whatever shenanigans and circus happens, and then it's draft season and UFL season as well.
Yes,
something to look forward to in that regard. Thank you for watching once again. Again, we might take a few weeks off after this, like just we usually do after the Super Bowl, kind of recuperate, and then we come back in March anyway with the UFL. Absolutely. But yeah, thank you for watching. Drop us a like, leave us your predictions or you know what, I'm gonna make it different. Leave your craziest tinfoil hat conspiracy scenario for the Super Bowl in the comments.
I know one listener
you're the script writer. You're the script writer. You get to write the script, make it ridiculous, make it as crazy as you possibly can, and even into next season and everything. Like, I just want to see the whole thing at this point.
Yeah.
You know, it must be great to be an unaffiliated fan in the NFL. It must be great because you can just watch the circus. You're not invested in anything.
Yeah.
You never have to, like, you know how it is when your team loses, you're down about it the whole week, and you get to hear about it the whole week.
Oh yeah.
And especially when your team loses a lot, like you're like 10-12 losses a season. Like most of the NFL season is worse than the off season for you, because in the off season you get to give yourself fake hope.
Yes.
But during the regular season you get hit with a reality every single week, right? So if you're a fan of, like, a non-affiliated fan just of the game, not of any team, must be great to see all this circus unfold.
I know some. I do know some. Thanks to fantasy football, there are a lot of those people out there who had absolutely no team, no vested rooting interest, and now they're just NFL fans.
Yeah, it makes sense. It honestly makes sense, because you don't have to care about the whole scripted or rigged stuff, whether it's true or not.
No,
because the thing is, 32 fan bases believe that games are rigged against them. That's the absolute truth. Everyone wants to believe that, because no one wants to admit that their team could have possibly deserved to lose a game.
Yes.
One thing we didn't get into, but I kind of wanted to, but we're not going into too long, the Super Bowl props and go to the super fun stuff. My absolute favorite every single year, the classic coin toss bet. The guys at MyBookie, man, the audacity to even lower the odds from last week. Instead of a 4% rake, they're now taking a 5% rake. So you're getting 195 on heads and 195 on tails, down from 196. So they have decided to just give themselves extra money in the most blatant way possible. However, will the team that win the coin toss also win the game? Is still at 196 on both yes and no for some reason.
Yeah, I guess they like that. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense at all, because usually, I would say most times the team who wins the coin toss wins because they will defer the first kickoff, and they get a lot of times a drive at the end of the half and then a drive at the beginning of the second half, and they usually win the game. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense that it's that close. But
Patrick
still,
Mahomes currently, yeah.
I was gonna say it's dumb to be betting on that stuff anyway.
It's good. It's like, I always like to illustrate it as, like, if you have $100, you can get it, like, changed into smaller, like into tens and fives, and you can take one of the fives and light it on fire.
Yes.
That is the exact same thing as betting on the coin toss. Like, it is the same thing. Nothing else. Yeah. You can do it every year. Yeah. There is no difference. It is the same thing. Okay. Patrick Mahomes currently the favorite to win Super Bowl MVP, even though the Niners are favored to win because Christian McCaffrey is a 5-1 favorite, 1-5 favorite to win behind Brock Purdy. So if the Niners win, they're saying it's much more likely that a non-quarterback wins the MVP.
Well, there's more fire for your Brock Purdy. Yeah.
We expected that. I mean, honestly, if they win, there's a good chance McCaffrey wins the MVP. Like, honestly, if you believe the Niners win this game, betting on McCaffrey 5-1 is not a bad idea, because he's probably the team MVP. He might get more votes than Purdy for league MVP.
Yeah, and he could win with one touchdown. He could win MVP.
One, maybe 2 touchdowns, 100 yards. total 100 all-purpose.
Yeah.
I'd say it would have to be.
I'm just saying,
But
Brock Purdy would have to do something spectacular in this game to win MVP.
I mean, he'd just have to, not spectacular, he'd just have to win, first of all, and then not have one of his, like, skill players be a one-man show. Like, if any of the guys, McCaffrey, Debo, Kittle, if any of them scores, like, 3 touchdowns and over 100 yards, they're probably winning the MVP. But if he spreads it around, 1 touchdown each, then it's, by default, it goes back to the quarterback.
Yeah, maybe so.
But this is not the worst bet at all. Like, McCaffrey for MVP, 5-1 is... To me, that's actually not a bad bet at all.
Well, if this is one of those like 10-17 type games like the Chiefs had last week, that 1 touchdown might win McCaffrey the MVP.
Then maybe then even defensive players come into the picture.
Possibly.
We'll see. But yeah, we're going to include it. If you want to go browse the Super Bowl props, there's a lot of insane stuff. How long will the national anthem be? Is there, one of my personal favorites, is there going to be a scoring drive shorter than the national anthem?
Like a 3 and out? How long is the national anthem usually? Was it like two minutes something?
The over-under is 87.5 seconds.
Yeah, I'm betting on there will not be.
I don't know how they make these lines. Like, if someone's typing in numbers or taking averages, maybe. Are they showing Purdy or Mahomes first during the anthem?
Well, the bets are so ridiculous. Don't you just look at it and go, I guess put that at, 195. I don't know.
This stuff gets me every year. The length of the word brave in the national anthem, over under 3.5 seconds. Gotta be kidding me.
But there's people betting on it. There's people
betting on it, and like books are printing the purest form of money they ever could.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Unbelievable. It's completely ridiculous. But yeah, browse those at your own discretion. Warning: it gets very, very stupid down there.
Yes,
it gets bad. It gets bad. Man.
Is there any stupid ones you're gonna bet on?
I'm not betting on any of these prop bets. Nah,
me either.
I don't think so. And I'm done with burning money.
Yeah,
that's no point. I'm only ever from now on betting on games that make sense to me because I want to earn money. No, I'm not doing that. All right, thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one, probably in a few weeks from now. Drop us a like and write your script for the Super Bowl and for the off season. In the comments. I'm curious to see. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard. Ha.